The cost of construction next year will undoubtedly be significantly different from what it was a year ago. In this video, we will analyze which important factors significantly affect the cost of construction. This is the cost of materials, the cost of labor, the cost of money, and of course the supply chain. Using the example of this house that I am currently in the process of completing, we will see how the costs for all four factors have changed and what to expect in the coming year. A year ago, the cost structure looked like this. The cost of capital was approximately 10 to 12%. The cost of labor reached 40–45%. Accordingly, materials could also cost 45–50%. In 2024, the cost structure has changed. Money is 7–8%, labor is 30–40%, and materials is 50–60%. 40% of the costs are related to materials, accounting for 50–60% of total expenses. For comparison, during COVID, the structure was as follows. The cost of money was much lower, around 3 to 5%. The cost of labor was very high, reaching up to 70 to 60%. And the cost of materials also accounted for approximately 30 to 40%. That is, the work was very expensive. Why are such changes happening? Let's talk about the cost of materials. The primary materials in building a house are concrete, which we pour into the foundation, wood, which is used for the frame, insulation, windows, doors, drywall, painting, roof, finishing facade materials, and of course all the interior finishing materials and other essential components. The cost of materials for the foundation of the house is 2,500 square feet. This is a direct slab. Last year I paid about $35,000 for concrete, rebar, and other fill materials. This year we paid approximately $18,000 for materials. This is almost half the price. The second largest expense in the construction process of building a house is essentially the frame. And of course, this is primarily the cost of lumber, which is utilized in order to successfully create the frame. If a year ago, lumber for this house was priced at approximately $60–70,000, this year we paid around $50,000 for the material for a house of 2,500 square feet. The difference is very substantial. During the COVID period, for a house like this, we had to pay $100,000 just for the wood used for the frame. After the frame is ready, we usually install all the communications and necessary components. This includes plumbing, electricity, and air conditioning. Inflation had a significant impact on this, and prices for materials have not decreased. Sometimes they have even increased. But for example, insulation such as open foam insulation and fiberglass insulation has fallen by more than 1.5 times. I assume this is related to the fact that there are fewer orders and consequently suppliers have less. There are orders for insulation, lowering prices. Once the main construction part of the house is ready, you move on to the finishing materials. And here I can clearly see that prices have started to fall. What? For example, the floor. This is a special board that is designed for a specific technology. Its price was approximately about $5 to $6 on average a year ago. Today you can find such a board for $4. Sometimes leftovers are sold for $3. When the main construction work is finished, you focus on finishing materials. This includes exterior and interior work. Now let's talk about this board. You see, it's a wooden board. I ordered it from North America. Just a year ago, I couldn't even dream of something like this. This board cost a lot of money. This year, prices have dropped significantly, and I was able to buy such good material, high-quality material, at the price of almost the simplest, cheapest wood in Austin. Therefore, undoubtedly, these opportunities allow materials to be sourced from all over America. The delivery of this board cost us only $1,800. By the way, this is the largest door in Texas. Its size is approximately 10 feet by 6 feet. I brought it from Turkey. This is a new opportunity for a new time. I paid $6,000 for this door in Turkey. Approximately a year ago, it would have cost around $15,000, $20,000 if you were buying it here. For approximately $6,000, you would buy a standard, typical wooden door here in Austin. Interior finishing materials, such as drywall and painting, have significantly decreased in price. What I see in the bills is about a 30% drop in price. Elements of the house, such as fixtures, faucets, appliances, and shower cabins, are all significantly decreasing in price. For example, a year ago, I had to search for a regular freestanding bathtub, and I found it for $1,200, $1,300. But today, I can buy the exact same bathtub for $700, $800. Well, of course, having only materials, it's impossible to build a house. You need reliable contractors, preferably inexpensive ones. Let's move on to the cost of labor. This is a very large block of expenses. The cost of work this year, I can responsibly say, has indeed significantly decreased. A year ago, in order to actually find a contractor, I had to wait in line. I was really waiting around for 2 to 3 weeks for the septic installer to come and start his work on my site. Or, for example, I had to wait in line for the contractor who does insulation, and I needed to schedule an appointment a few weeks in advance, and it was practically the same with everyone. Today, the situation has changed dramatically. Dozens of calls every day. From concrete manufacturers to people who do both exterior and interior work, such as the painters, they all ask to let them calculate some object. This is very noticeable. Every day, there are SMS messages, emails, or phone calls. Such an expectation was impossible a year ago. Naturally, as you can imagine, if you are receiving such an overwhelming flood of requests, then the cost of work will also be lower. And I really feel that the cost of work is changing. This means you can negotiate and you can choose among several contractors. And this is a matter of negotiations, depending on how much you have agreed upon. But today, I clearly see that the cost of labor is falling, and it has decreased by about 10-20% from the expenses that were a year ago. For example, insulation for such a house, which cost $12,000 a year ago for 2,500 square feet, was the lowest price I could find. This year, I received the lowest offer. It is $8,000. If we compare, it's 1.5 times. Guys, the price is 1.5 times lower. Moreover, I chose from 3 contractors this year, and they were all willing to do it for $8,000. A year ago, you still had to wait in line for 12. Another example is a popular type of work in America, which is drywall. It seems like a simple job to install drywall, apply joint compound, and paint. But indeed, a year ago, I had a hard time finding a contractor to do this work. Moreover, it was difficult to find a contractor who could perform this work with high quality, because we are building European-style houses, and we have a smooth finish which requires very highly skilled workers. And last year, for a house like the one we built, 2,500 square feet, we paid about $70,000 for all the work, including drywall, of course, meaning we received a total estimate. This year, I paid approximately $60,000 for this house. This is nearly 10-15% cheaper. I don't have a crystal ball, but my feeling, based on what I see happening in the economy and how contractors are currently reacting, how they are trying to do better work, and how they are offering lower prices, is that the situation will continue to improve for developers because prices will be falling, and we will have the opportunity to select better teams, choose the best of the best, and get the best prices for building a house. Accordingly, it is expected that I can assume that house prices will somewhat decrease, or our profit as builders will increase. For any construction project, you absolutely need capital. What is happening with the cost of money today? A year ago, the cost of a construction loan was 10 to 12%, and you would have paid the bank an additional 2 to 3 points, and it would have been very difficult for you to obtain that loan because They clearly understand that it is currently quite challenging to sell a house, and construction loans have stopped being issued. Some banks have closed their construction loan departments. However, today the situation has changed significantly. I recently found a loan from a private investor at 766. A lot of private investors have entered the market. There are many offers coming in. Since banks see this as a business, they are trying to find clients in the same way. We should take advantage of this. Today, we can find cheaper money. By the end of the year, the Federal Reserve plans to lower the rate by at least 0.5. This indicates that in the future, money will become a little cheaper, and the market will move. And when the market moves, prices for materials and labor will begin to rise. Therefore, today is an ideal time to build. I would say it is the perfect time for construction. About supply chains. If a year ago our container from Europe sat in port for a month, today everything happens very quickly. A container from Turkey is here in 30-40 days. A container from Europe takes 40 days, 45 days, and then it is already here, practically on the site instantly. Customs clearance is happening very quickly. Even the prices for broker services and so on have dropped a little. Today is definitely an extremely favorable time to order materials from abroad. If you are building your first house and need advice, ideas, and recommendations, join our community of builders and our courses. The link is in the description.